Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Games Connect Us All podcast. My name is Jake Kaz.
Hi, I'm Connor.
Today, we're discussing The Legend of Zelda timeline and its many complexities, as well as every single game in the Legend of Zelda
That's
series.
that's right. And Jake and I are both in terrible moods, so this is going to be very entertaining.
Yes, we're in quite shitty moods.
Yeah. What was it you said? You wanted to rip out my
Earlier, I
spine?
said I want to grab Connor's spine and rip it out of his back and wring it out like a fucking towel, because I'm just in a bad mood today.
Yeah. So maybe I shouldn't go over to this guy's house anymore.
No more. You're not welcome here, bitch. Anyway, let's get into the
Anyway,
podcast.
yeah. So the Game Awards happened.
The Game Awards, they took place. Little
We
fucker
were
came
gonna like
on
go
and
through all of that, and then but it just would take too long. So we each have like stuff like little highlights that we're gonna do talk about.
yeah.
What's your highlight?
My highlight as far as announcements is probably the announcement of the DLC for the New Horizon game. I don't even have a PlayStation 5. I can't even play the fucking game. But I like the first one and I'm making my way through it. So just to know that there's more content in that universe makes me a very excited person. What
I liked a
about
lot.
you?
I liked a lot of the announcements that happened. A couple of my highlights were Remnant 2, Lord of the Fallen, Earthblade. First two are like kind of like Souls-like, and Lord of the Fallen reminds me a lot of Blasphemous, which I really liked. So, Blasphemous is Metroidvania with like really dark fantasy stuff, and Earthblade is made by the same is a Metroidvania made by the same people who made Celeste. So I don't know. It was a really good show. And a special shout out to Bill Clinton.
Yes, that was that was a great moment.
Yeah.
And didn't he say he donates the award?
I nominate this award to my reformed rabbi, Bill Clinton.
Ah, that was interesting.
I mean, I was like, what? He's nominating this award? What?
The security there though, man, that
I,
sucks.
th- it was kind of funny because I thought it was, everybody thought it was just part of like people with Elden Ring, but it wasn't. It was just fucking the it was just some kid that snuck his way up on stage and then like
Mom,
they just
I'm doing the podcast right now.
just said that like
Yeah,
nominate this
just letting
award
you
to my
know.
newly reformed rabbi Bill Clinton. People thought it was like anti-Semitism at first too. Apparently it's not. Like he's apparently like an activist or something, but it was weird,
He's
especially since
chill.
all the security like swarmed him on stage. It was kind of funny.
Well, then there's this theory going around that he was working for the Game Awards to get them more press attention.
Hmm. Interesting.
But that there's no way that's true because it actually makes them look terrible and that they have horrible security. So
Right, that's the other thing. Like they're really upping the security a little bit because people realize like, man, I could just walk on stage behind all these people and like nobody would
yep,
even care. Like if he had really bad intentions, like
it would
it
have
could have been
been
like
it
terrible.
would have been great for him. Or I mean, it would have been terrible for us.
Oh my God. Man, if he was able to just like
Stop it. You're making me sound bad.
just shiv the guy right up in front, like man, that would have
Oh
been great for him.
no! Did I fuck up the recording? Did I
Did
fuck
you
you
fuck up
up?
the recording?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
I guess we'll find out. It's fine. So, the Zelda timeline.
Yeah.
So we each have the Zelda
I'm
timeline pulled up.
recording the thing with Connor.
Um, so we're gonna be talking about
Can you
each of the
close my
games
door?
and our experiences with them
Can you close my
as we go
door? I
along.
love you.
So, yeah,
That was
it's a
so
pretty interesting.
seamless. Good job taking over.
I didn't even realize. But yeah, we each have the the stuff pulled up. Um,
Yes, and
why don't we
before
just get right
you,
into
I
it?
have it up for the viewers so they can see what's going
Oh,
on.
nice, nice, nice.
Yep. So the first thing that happened was the creation of Land and Sky, which, like, no shit, Like,
by the goddess Hylia.
sure.
We don't need to go through each of that. Like we'll just go through the
Yeah. So
games.
the first thing that ever happened was the Zelda of the Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword.
Yes. This was the first hero. Well, not the first hero, but like one of the first heroes.
I want to play this one. I know they just come out with a remake. It looks so fun and bright. I never played
I
it.
it gets a really oh, excuse me. It gets a really bad rap. Just for the
A
motion
bad
controls.
rap. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. It makes me
What?
happy. I'm so bored.
Have you never heard that that phrase
It's
before?
bad rep, like reputation. You said
Oh,
bad rap.
it's not. Wait, is it really?
Yeah. Why would it be bad rap?
It gets a bad. No, it is. It is bad rap.
Why is it get a bad rap? That doesn't make any damn sense. Why? What does that mean?
Hang on. I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up.
Okay, all right. Can't even get
Bad
through
rap.
5 minutes of
Bad
this
rap.
podcast.
RAP is the original phrase meaning a bad or undeserved reputation. Bad rep, which contains the literal shortening of reputation, has historically been interpreted as a spelling error, but has seen enough usage to merit entry. Bad rap, WRAP, is considered wrong and is best saved for referring to wraps and tortillas.
That's bullshit. Are you on the Urban Dictionary?
No, I'm on Merriam-Webster. I knew I was right. I
Bad
knew I
rap?
was right. Although I did
But
think it
that's
was double.
not spelled right. R
I
E P
did.
is the correct spelling, right?
No, I just looked it up. It's on the Merriam-Webster.
So
Merriam-Web.
you're telling me the word is reputation spelled RAP
No,
mutation?
no. A bad rap is the original phrase meaning a bad or undeserved reputation.
Yeah, spelled rap like RAP.
I guess. I don't know. I always thought it was spelled WRAP, so that part I got wrong. But
What? You thought it was WRAP? You're way off. I'm in a bad mood. This has been established.
well,
Let's move
no.
on.
Now I get that I was wrong. But like the word, like the phrase is still correct.
Whatever. Bad rep. Bad
Anyways,
rap. That's what this
it gets
game
a bad
gets.
rap.
I
Gets a bad
I
rap.
think it looks great and fun.
It is really fun. The story's really good. The main problem I have besides the motion controls is the like what do you call it? It's pacing. You go to like the three areas. There's three main areas that you go to, and you go to them three times each and like separate like times.
I haven't played it, so I wouldn't know.
So you go to each time you like use your abilities that you've gotten to go to like new areas and stuff, but it's still like very repetitive. I first experienced it through Chaka Conroy's Let's Play of it, and not recently, but I bought the game myself and tried it out, and I thought it was really fun.
Okay. So there's also a remake of it, and this is the first game where we have the little boy put on green clothes and save his sister.
In the timeline,
Friend.
at least. And
Girlfriend.
this is actually ironically, this is one of the most recent games in the series. This is also when the whole basis for the timeline that Link and Princess Zelda and Ganondorf all like get reincarnated and everything. Which Jake apparently didn't know about
I
up
don't know
until
shit, and
today.
there's some stuff that you better make sure you don't spoil for me because I know that Twilight Princess gets pretty insane. I haven't played it, so I don't want to know what
It
happens.
does get pretty. I won't spoil anything. No, I won't do that. But yeah, this is like the basis for the timeline. I will spoil Skyward Sword a little bit here, so because it does get a little bit crazy. Okay,
You give me a thumbs up when I put my headphones back on.
all right. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, just skip this part, I guess. But what it is you have Demise, which is like the embodiment of like evil or whatever. And after Link defeats him, he like curses Link, and then Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf to always relive the same like thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh,
He doesn't have his headphones on. Okay, I'm gonna
back.
I'm without spoilers. I'm gonna explain to you what I just said
Okay.
without spoilers. Um, the embodiment of evil cursed Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf to relive the same thing throughout existence.
Okay. Yeah. See, I
That's
don't
about it.
have to. It's okay if you spoil the overall timeline because I know it, but like the individual games and like
I'll
certain
try not to
characters.
spoil individual games. Yeah.
But like I know that. I mean the timeline. There's not enough to the timeline really to spoil.
Yeah, I'm pretty not to brag, but I'm pretty like into the timeline.
Not to
So
brag.
yeah.
Okay, so the
Moving
Minish
on.
Cap. Never played it.
Never played it, but
Looks
it
super
looks really
cute.
fun. I really want to play it.
Are those
I always
Pikmin?
like the 2D Zeldas. Um, there isn't a whole lot to this game. The one important thing is the resurrection of Vati. Vati is like the first in the timeline. It looks like that he's like the first version of Ganondorf almost.
Hmm.
He's the one. He's the only other villain I believe in Zelda that is reoccurring besides Ganondorf.
So, so this is the second link. This is not the same link
Okay, so
as.
something you need to understand is that there are links in between games. There's like hundreds of links in between each game.
They're so far apart,
This
right?
one actually might be the second one, though.
Okay.
Um, but generally, there's a lot of them in between because it's like lifetimes in between games. So,
Right.
especially Breath of the Wild.
I feel
But
like
yeah, Minish
this.
Cap, Vati is like the important thing.
I feel like the Sacred Realm getting sealed should be in a game somewhere. It
I
just happens
believe,
off screen.
well, I believe you open the Sacred Realm in Skyward Sword. So like,
Okay. Let
it's
me
just
seal that
like,
shit back up. This is
and that's like
official, right?
that's
This is
really
from
important.
Nintendo.
The Sacred Realm is really important in a few of the games.
Is this
So
the official timeline from
this is
Nintendo?
the official timeline,
I
yes,
didn't
that
know
we're
this
looking at.
existed. I thought the whole thing was speculation. So this makes me feel
No, no,
more
no. This is
optimistic.
from Nintendo. That's why people were so
Okay.
confused because like it's a little confusing. I know it pretty well enough to like understand it, but I understand that it's kind of
Okay.
confusing.
So
So next, Four Swords.
this one makes no sense. There's four of them.
Okay. So this one I actually know a lot about because this one is one of the few games that I've played all the way through.
I've played it. I haven't finished it.
This is what I was like exclaiming about earlier because the one on back at Zelda's 25th anniversary, there was a release on the 3DS of the Four Swords Anniversary Edition, which I loved. I loved the game. It was amazing. I loved it, and I unintentionally did like some sort of challenge or something because I didn't know how to use my sword for the longest time. So I would try to damage things like without using my sword,
Oh God.
um, which is awful. You can play it with four people. You don't need to though, and it's honestly pretty fun even when you don't. Um, and it's really fun. It also includes Vati. Um, and yeah, there's a lore reason why um, there's four of them, which is the sword that they're using isn't the Master Sword. It's called the Four Sword.
Yes, I knew
Um,
that.
and as soon as you raise it out of like the stone, it like creates the person who's holding it into four
Yes.
people.
Okay,
But yeah,
makes sense. Ocarina of Time. I haven't finished yet, and I don't want to get too far into it because I actually have not had it spoiled. Like I don't know what happens in it. So
okay. It's really important. Um,
yeah, clearly.
I won't spoil anything from it, but we do need to talk about it a little bit because it's really important for the timeline.
Yeah.
Um, First off, really like the game. The remake is really
It's
good. I haven't
great
beaten
so
the
far.
remake. Um, I can't believe you haven't had it spoiled for you. But
Nope, I don't know anything.
so the one thing I will say is that there's a point in the game where Link becomes an adult. Do you know that? Have you gotten to that point
Yeah, I
yet?
know he time travels and is an
Okay,
adult.
well, I didn't know. I didn't know. That's like one of the major things in the
Okay, I
game.
knew that. I knew that.
Okay, yeah. No, he time travels to become an adult.
I
Um,
mean, he's an adult on this picture.
I guess, yeah, yeah, yeah. Something that so obviously Ganon's in the game, Ganondorf's in the game, you know that.
Is this the
Um,
first Ganondorf, or is he in the
He's a Ganon. Ganon the pig is in the first game, the very first
Okay.
game. Um, so in Ocarina of Time, you beat Ganon. I think that's the first appearance of Ganondorf, though.
Yes.
So like him as like a Gerudo. Um, but he's in the game, and Link can either beat him or not beat him. So there's three timelines that this branches off from. One where the hero is defeated, where Link is fucking murdered. Uh, um, and then the hero wins, but there's two timelines where the hero wins. And this is because he can either choose to go back to his home where he's a child or choose to live out his rest of his years as an adult
If he wins, he can do both.
if he wins. Is there a specific one that you want to
Is there a third timeline
tackle?
where he goes to sleep and wakes up 100 years later?
That's basically what him staying as an adult is.
I mean, for Breath of the Wild. Could
We'll
Breath of the
go. We'll
Wild
get
fit
to Breath of
here?
the Wild. We'll get to Breath of the Wild. That
I
one's a
know,
kind of a
but could it fit here?
no,
I think
no
it
way.
could.
No, it can't.
If he.
And there's a reason it can't, and I'll explain it
Okay, fuck you.
eventually.
Let's do it. Let's start with
So
child era.
why don't we start with the hero is defeated?
Okay,
Because
'cause
that's
that
only
only
one
goes one.
timeline.
Okay, smart.
Yeah. All
Okay,
right.
Link to the Past. I love this game, the SNES one, correct?
Yeah.
There's no way they made this and they were like, yeah, this takes place here. Considering it
It's
came out so early, there's no way they're like, then we'll make a game where he gets defeated, and this is what happened.
yeah. Oh, I'm noticing all of the most of the 2D ones are all on this timeline. Most of them. I'm sure there's one or two that aren't, but yeah, Link to the Past. This is like quintessential 2D Zelda. I never really actually enjoyed it that much.
Really, this is the SNES one, right? I
Yeah,
just want to make sure. Yeah, I played it. I didn't beat it though, but I
it
enjoyed
seems
playing
it
it.
always seemed a little bit too stiff for me. Like there's like
I
something
mean,
about
it's
it
really
that like
basic. It's just like Zelda cat. It's like this is like run of the mill, run of the mill. I feel like for Zelda.
yeah, at the time it was revolutionary because you could tackle any of the dungeons in any order you wanted, I believe.
Yeah,
So that was revolutionary.
but in a
Um,
nutshell, it's basically Zelda capture. Let's go find her.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
Link's Awakening.
before we move on, the biggest thing about the game is the introduction of the Dark World.
Ah,
Um, because
I didn't get
that
that.
was like the big thing. Um, where it's just like a reverse version of Hyrule. I just thought I should mention that.
Okay,
Um, but yeah,
Link's Awakening. Isn't this the one that just got a remake, or is the remake not out?
yep. No, there is a remake.
Man, they have a lot of
Um,
remakes lately with Zelda.
well, this one in particular got remade twice.
Yeah, because there's Link's Awakening DX, which is listed here.
Yes, it's pretty. I honestly really like it. I've played the Switch one quite a bit.
I'm
It's
surprised they
not
don't
worth
have. I'm
$60.
surprised they don't have the most recent remake listed here.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't understand why they don't.
But yeah, that doesn't sound worth $60, and I wouldn't pay for it unless it was like $30.
It is not worth it. I think I got it for Christmas or something. It just was like, why? Why are you? It's a Game Boy game that's listed at $60, and it's kind of frustrating. It looks pretty. It looks pretty, but you know. Anyway, it's interesting. It's all a dream, though.
Lame.
Oh, sorry, that was kind of a spoiler, but like,
Oh, it's fine. I'm never gonna play it.
it's a really fun game. You should play it. All right,
Oracle
moving
of
on.
Ages and Oracle of Seaman. Season. The Seaman strikes back.
Oh, my favorite Zelda game, The Legend of Zelda: Oracle of Seaman. Oh my god. Anyway, or Oracle of Ages and Oracle Legends are Game Boy games. And they're the only time in the Zelda history where there was a dual release.
It's like
People were
it's like
trying.
Pokemon right here.
Yeah, people were trying. They were trying to capture off the Pokemon formula. From what I've heard, it works really well with these games, but I haven't played them, and
Me neither. Looks
I don't know if I have
boring.
interest in them.
What are
But
they on? What console?
Game Boy.
Okay, yeah, they're probably
Um,
shitty.
although now I'm looking at this like art
Just
here that
hit
they
it.
have for it. There's three. There's like power, wisdom, and what is it? Courage. Here, like the three like symbols for that. And then they have like four symbols on the other one,
Wow,
probably
that looks
for
insane.
probably for spring, winter, fall, and summer.
Oh yeah, they kind
But
of look like that.
like,
Oh, Oracle of Seasons.
wow, good job. But I wonder if they have like three and two, four in one of them. So like one's like better. I don't know.
Wow, there's a
Anyway,
lot. Link
let's move
Between
on.
Worlds.
I
This
really
is the
love this is one
weird
of my
one,
favorite.
right?
This is one of my favorite Zelda games.
What is this one on?
3DS.
Okay, so this one I've never played.
This is one of the most recent 2D Zeldas. It's the same thing as Link to the Past, but it's like Link has this thing where he can like become a painting like into walls, and it adds a lot of
Yeah.
like depth to the gameplay. Also, it feels a lot less stiff, which was my main problem with Link to the Past. I didn't enjoy like the gameplay of Link to the Past, and that's why I didn't play it.
So, what's the most recent 2D Zelda game that's not a remake? Is it this?
This one. Oh no, there's one more. We'll get to that soon.
Okay.
But yes, this is one of the most recent. It's really fun. I recommend
This
it.
is one I
Oh
really want to play. It looks really interesting.
yes, one more thing. There's something called low rule in it. I almost just spoiled something really big, but something called low rule. It's a flipped version of high rule, but it's not the same thing as the dark world,
Oh,
which
great.
is weird. I
I
don't know
assumed
why
it
they're
was the
two
Dark
different
World
things.
just based on the logo.
Right, they're not. It's like two separate versions of
Okay.
Hyrule. It's like weird,
All right.
but yeah.
Triforce Heroes then.
Triforce Heroes. This is the most recent 2D
Okay.
Zelda.
What is this on? This is on 3DS still.
This is also on 3DS. It uses pretty much the same engine as Link Between Worlds. This game is like a 5 out of 10. It's pretty mid.
Mid.
Yeah, it's like okay. It's like a good game, but it's not a Zelda game. Is the thing. It's like
Mm.
you have to play it in multiplayer to like really have fun with it. And finding three friends who also have the same game on a 3DS is like kind of tough. You can play online, but then you can't like communicate as well. And it's level based too. It's not like a open world
Hold
thing.
on a second. Does the resurrection of Ganon happen twice?
Huh?
Doesn't Ganon get resurrected all the time?
Where are you? Oh, yeah. No, no, no. Yes, you're
Why
right.
are they acting like it's
But
a big thing? Like, shouldn't every single game
because
say
that's the first
resurrection
time it
of
happened.
Link?
That's the first time it happened since Ocarina of Time.
That's the first
At
time
that
they
point.
got resurrected. Wait, but there's been like 50 million Links and Ganons
Okay,
already.
so let me go. Let's go back to the.
Oh! This is
Uh,
why the title of the video is "That Makes No Sense."
okay, so Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Ganon wins in this timeline that we're in
Yes.
right now. So he rules
How the fuck he get
Hyrule.
resurrected if he won?
Let me explain it. So Ocarina of Time, he goes on to like he wins the imprisoning war. The sages all fight. The sages from A Link to the Past all fight to like imprison him in the sacred realm. And that's why
That sounds
like
like it would have been important to include in one of the games.
well they included that story in A Link to the Past. Like
That I
it's
remember
like
that now.
yeah.
That played Link to the
A
Past.
similar thing is also done in A Link Between Worlds. But yeah, it's imprisoning war. That is the like
Okay.
they fight to imprison him. So
I'd
then
like
he gets
to. I would like to
resurrected
apologize for my harsh
for your for
outrage.
your, for your outburst. Well, resurrection that's the first time it happened since the imprisoning war.
Okay.
All right, so Triforce back to Triforce Heroes. He I don't believe he's the main villain in Triforce Heroes, which is kind of funny. It kind of exists in its own like little. area
So they get resurrected all the time. I guess that's why I'm curious. Why is it such a big deal when it happens in A Link to the Past and in The Legend of Zelda?
because that's the first time. Because it's like
Okay, so that's the start of his resurrection arc.
in this timeline, yes. But he's been being resurrected since Ocarina of Time.
He's been being resurrected since Skyward Sword, right?
Mm, no, he's not the main villain in Skyward Sword. I won't go much further than that. Because
Okay,
the villain in that game is really cool, but I'm not going to spoil who
okay,
it is.
okay. So,
Vati is the first like incarnation, kind of.
but he's not
That's why
Ganon.
he's not Ganon. He's just like kind of like the first version of him. Then Ocarina of Time happens, where that's the first time Ganondorf really exists. Um,
So
and
why
then
didn't he exist before Ocarina of Time?
he just didn't. Ganondorf is the incarnation of evil.
Yeah.
Okay,
So he just
so
gets reincarnated as evil whenever he wants to.
so you're making it really hard to not spoil Skyward Sword here.
Okay, all right. Let's just move on. Let's just move on. I'll go play Skyward Sword after this.
Vati, so all right, I'll say this: the main villain in the Skyward Sword.
Don't say this.
I'm not saying who it is, but they are the true incarnation of evil, and they cursed Link and Zelda to always relive the events of Skyward Sword throughout all their generations. And
But evil
so
comes as different things.
right, Vati is the first version of that, and then an Ocarina of Time, Ganondorf becomes that.
All right,
And
all
that's
right. Let's
he
move on.
appears in all of the timelines because that's when the timelines split.
All right. So they get resurrected all the time. That's the story.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Legend of Zelda,
Original.
the
I don't know a whole
OG.
lot about this game.
I fucking hate this game.
I've never played this game. I don't have any intention to.
I can't. I'm not good enough at games to play it. I think is the real truth
Yeah,
because I can't figure out where the hell to go and all that. I don't
yeah,
want to
it's
look it
really
up because that just
difficult.
feels lame. So I got pretty
Yeah.
far into it. I beat like one of the dungeons, but after that I was like, I don't know where to go.
Yeah, it's
And
really hard. It feels more stiff than Link to the Past. I
so
really hate games that are stiff.
some people say it's cool that you have to like come up with ways to do things, like to find places to go, but it's not. I don't think it's inventive and awesome that you have to throw a bomb at a random wall to enter the next stage. I think it's
It
stupid.
was really cool at the time,
But there's no
but
indication, so it's just
right.
bad gameplay, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say
Anyway,
about that. Sorry, Legend of Zelda fans.
n-
I get annoyed by the game because there's so many great Zelda games.
yeah, it's rough.
But anyway,
Although it is worth noting that in this game, I think that it's supposed to be like a post-apocalyptic Hyrule.
yes, it definitely
So
is.
that's interesting. And then the Adventure of Link's, which is
This one looks good. I'd love to play it, but I
oh,
haven't.
for some reason in my mind, I had like a glitch where I thought the of Link was like one of the CDI games.
That's what happened to me earlier when we were talking about it because it looks like it based on the
It looks
picture.
like yeah, it's Zelda 2 is what it is.
Yeah,
They just don't say Zelda 2 for some reason.
yeah. This is on NES though,
Yes, this game looks really fun to like
and
watch somebody play.
I do know this is the first appearance of Dark Link at the end, and it's really fucking hard
Yes.
to beat him.
Yeah, unless you cheese it. There's a way to cheese it.
Yeah,
But,
you can like do a certain pattern.
but that's the end of the first timeline.
So
So
this
let's go.
timeline didn't end though. Like they could
No,
still be.
you can have games after it, yeah.
They didn't like resolve the whole eternal suffering thing.
No, they didn't.
I
I
hope
don't
they
think so.
do. I hope. I want there to be a game that actually has something to do with the timeline, if that makes sense. Like I know
I get
some of
exactly
them
what you
do,
mean.
but a lot of them are
No,
just
yeah.
like this took place during this super cool thing, and this is just a lame thing.
No, you'll we'll discuss it later. There's something. So let's go to the child era
Okay.
now. So this is if
Flop era.
Link. This is like what happened when Link wins, but then goes back to being like lives out the rest of his days as a child.
Okay. So Majora's Mask. This is the same Link.
This is the same Link. This is immediately after um Ocarina of Time. Um, it is literally a sequel. Uh, and it's my favorite Zelda game. I really love this game.
Obviously.
Yeah, so I call myself Mask Majora on everything. Um, the the most important. This is just me explaining the timeline to you at this point.
Yeah.
Like, but at this point, Link has defeated Ganondorf, so he's like a hero. So he gets to go on like whatever, he gets to go wherever he wants. And he goes into the Lost Woods, and then he like loses his way, and he meets Skull Kid.
I don't want to hear anything more because I'm planning to play this still.
This is the first part of the game.
I know, and I
This is
know
like the
this
beginning
much.
of the game.
I know this much, but I don't want to know anything more. I want it to all be a surprise from
Then
here
take
on.
your headphones off, because this is important.
It's not that important.
He goes into like it's important because it's not Hyrule. He doesn't. The adventure is not in Hyrule. I don't.
You just let me know when
There's
you're
nothing
ready.
else. There's nothing else. The whole point. The whole fucking point of what I was saying was that it doesn't matter. If you'd let me finish.
Oh. I'm sorry, everybody.
I was trying to tell you
I'm
that
a little
like
stressed about the Zelda.
the game
part.
doesn't matter in terms of the timeline. Just Link being a
Okay.
hero again.
Yeah.
The reason I like this game though is that you can beat the main story really fast though. So it's like not that long.
My only issue with it is that it seems like it's really fucking hard.
It's not
So
that
I'm
bad.
scared to play it, and I don't know how much I like the cycle thing. But
It's better when you
makes
play it.
sense. It makes so much more sense than games that just like you respawn. I like the idea that it's like you have to get this right. That's a really
Yeah.
cool idea for a game, and it's underutilized, I think. Anyway,
Anyway,
Twilight Princess. This one I don't want to hear anything about because I'm so excited to play it.
okay.
Because
Yes,
I'm like just now getting into the Zelda games, and I know
Yeah,
that this
it's
one is like
this
a more
one's like
serious
one of the
one.
best. This is like one of my
So there's
favorites.
an
This
HD.
I
on
love this
Wii
entire
U, right?
timeline. This does have an HD remake. Majora's Mask also has a 3DS remake, which is really good.
Yeah.
Uh, Um, the only thing I'm gonna say for this, um, two things. Ganondorf has been imprisoned in the Sacred Realm before this game. Again. So this is when this happened in this timeline. Um, so yes, so he got imprisoned after
A Ganondorf got imprisoned.
Abe gave it Ganondorf, but it's like the same kind of thing.
So if
Like,
Ganondorf is in the realm of whatever, that doesn't mean that evil itself is. It just so does evil come back as something else if he's in the shadow realm or whatever the fuck?
I don't know. You have to find out yourself.
Okay.
But
So yes.
the other thing is that this is also a direct sequel to Majora's Mask, although it's not as clear that it is. The Hero of Time makes an appearance in this.
Yes, I knew about that. So
I won't go much into detail
Yeah.
about how he makes an appearance, but honestly, if you have not played the Zelda game and you're into Zelda, play it. For the love of God, play it.
I'm
It's
planning
so
to
good.
do.
If you liked Ocarina of Time, you'll like this game, I
I'm
guess is
planning to
what
do
I'm saying.
Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and then this.
That's a good idea. This one doesn't translate so well. Like it's not like you could play Majora's Mask
And
and
then
then
play this and be like, oh
uh,
yeah.
yeah, like it's not like it doesn't flow
It's not
into
a
each
direct
other.
sequel, but it takes place. It's in the same world, and it's not
Yeah.
too far apart, as
Yeah.
most games are. Okay, Four Sword Adventures.
I have no clue anything about this
I
game.
think it's just the sequel to Four Swords.
It can't be a sequel to Four
It's
Swords.
not a
Well, I guess
sequel on the timeline, but it's a
yeah,
successor.
yeah. I don't know. I know it's on like the GameCube. I'm pretty sure it's on the GameCube. Um, I don't know anything about it. The What's interesting to me though is that and what's making me want to play it is that it says the reincarnation of Ganondorf and the resurrection of Bati. So are
Oh
they like
my.
in the same game?
Maybe you should play it and find out, like me.
Maybe I should because I really love Vati. Vati is one of my favorite like characters in Zelda. Um, but
Well,
yeah,
that's the end of this timeline.
yeah, there isn't a whole lot here. Um, I got to play Four Swords Adventures.
Hey, this is the end we're getting to now.
Yep, this is the adult era. There isn't a whole lot on this timeline either. And these are also direct sequels to each other. It's kind of funny. It seems like whenever they didn't have games that like were like a direct sequel to another, they just kind of threw it on like the hero is defeated timeline.
Heroes. Wait, this doesn't go anywhere on the timeline. Ah, heroes defeated. Fits in somewhere. They got reincarnated, and this is what happened. Period.
Yep. All right.
Okay, Wind Waker. I'm playing right now.
Okay. So if you noticed again on this timeline, Ganondorf is also sealed. So that's like a an event, like a concurrent event or whatever. I forgot what you call them. Like it's an event that happens in like all the timelines. Ganondorf is sealed somehow away um into like the sacred realm. But before Wind Waker, Ganondorf is like resurrected, and then like in order to stop Ganondorf, there wasn't a hero. That's like the thing, because Link like stayed as an adult in this era, so there wasn't a hero to save them at this point. I believe that's like the
So he
what
became an
what
adult,
happened.
so child doesn't exist to save bitches.
Yes, I believe that's what it is at this point. This is like the one I don't know about. Um, but in order to stop them, they're like, "Fuck it, we're flooding Hyrule." Like I don't know what the thought process was like to doing this, but that's what they did. Um,
It would have been really hard to do the rest of this timeline if I didn't want it spoiled that he can go between a child and an adult
yeah, it would be
in
really
Ocarina of
difficult.
Time. No, I already knew that. Thank God.
Yeah, I'm glad you knew that.
But the Wind Waker
So
I'm playing right now, and I'm really enjoying it. I love this game.
heard it's really good. And then we have the Phantom Hourglass.
Indeed, we do.
I don't know a whole lot about this game,
This is, I think, is this a 2D
but
one?
this is the 2D one. Um, this is this is also the same Link, I believe.
I think it is. I
Um,
think these are all the same Link.
I don't know if Spirit Tracks is the same Link. Um, but I think that Phantom Hourglass and Wind Waker Link are the same. It just it's a 2D Zelda game. You use the stylus though to move, which turned a lot of people off of the game.
Oof.
So I think
Sounds terrible.
yeah. So this is the era of the Great Voyage. They were looking for new lands and stuff. Um, I don't believe. I believe in Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. Something that happened in Wind Waker. I don't know this for sure, so this isn't a spoiler. But I'm pretty sure that Ganondorf is like permanently like Ganondorf just doesn't exist anymore after Wind Waker. Um, that's what I gather. But because Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks don't have Ganon in them, I don't think.
I don't think they
Spirit
do.
Phantom Hourglass makes sense because Ganondorf was already defeated in that like lifetime.
Right.
Um,
I'm not sure about Spirit Tracks. I haven't. If you guys couldn't tell, I haven't played a lot of Zelda games, and I just recently got into them. But I'm really enjoying them.
it might be the
Is
no, I think this is the same hero. It's just that there's a new version of Hyrule that they've like stumbled upon because it's like a new continent.
Yes.
It looks like so. Yes,
So
that's
is
it. That's the
Spirit
end of that timeline.
is Spirit Tracks the first game where the hero of the wind, correct? That's two in
Yeah.
Link.
Yep.
At least in this timeline. This is the first time he has a Princess Zelda, right? Because Zelda's not in Wind Waker.
Oh, you poor sweet summer child. You'll find out.
Oh, is Zelda in Wind Waker?
I don't know. Never played Wind Waker. You'll have to
Oh,
find out on yourself, on your own.
okay. I feel like it sounds right, but at least we're not saving her. We're saving my sister instead.
Okay, so that's the end of that timeline.
I'm gonna look like such an idiot. This video's gonna make me look so bad.
It looks like Demon King Maladus is the antagonist of that game. That sounds pretty cool. But that's the end of the adult era. So now we only have one game left that we haven't talked about. Well, two games technically, but one game that's been released that we haven't talked about, Breath of the Wild. And you've been asking me over and over again, so what's Breath of the Wild? Where's Breath of the Wild? Breath of the Wild is a unique case because it has to take place 10,000 years after the end of the timeline, at least. Because they mentioned the war. There's like some war 10,000 years in the past that in Breath of the Wild. And we have not seen that or heard anyone talk about it in the timeline. So it's a
Well,
unique
there's a lot
case,
of wars that
right?
happen.
But this one in particular is different because it has the Guardians. Um,
I mean, doesn't
the
this whole thing
Guardians
take place over like a billion years?
takes place in at least probably 100,000 years. But
So there's probably a lot of wars.
now that's been extended to an extra 10,000 years, and
Okay,
that's
so the
longer than
timeline of the stuff that happened in the past in Breath of the Wild 100 years ago is not even on the timeline anywhere.
no.
That's just some other random Zelda shit that happened.
Yep, yep. That's the thing. This is the longest gap in between games that we've had on the timeline.
See, when I played it and I had some knowledge about Ocarina of Time, I assumed that Breath of the Wild was a sequel to Ocarina of Time.
No, no way. Nope.
I assumed it
It's
was where I assumed it was Link got defeated and went into rest in Ocarina of Time. But he was only
no,
17, so
no. He was and not in Breath of the Wild. The 10,000 year ago fight is not in the timeline. The 100 year ago fight isn't on the timeline, and the current Breath of the Wild one isn't on the fight.
on the fight.
Um, on the timeline. And the reason we know this is because of the Guardians. Because the Guardians are an ancient like Sheikah like invention, and they were used in the first war, the 10,000 year war against Ganon. We haven't seen Guardians at all um, during this time. I have not played through all of Age of Calamity at this point. I don't think I ever will, but that has a lot of story based things, so maybe that affects certain things. But
Age of Calamity is the
Hyrule
the
Warriors,
Hyrule Warriors. So what is that?
it's a sequel to Breath of the Wild, basically.
So it takes place after Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it takes place after Breath of the Wild, and it like fills in story beats
But
that
before Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm wrong. Wait, I'm wrong. It's a prequel to Breath of the Wild. It shows what happened
Yeah,
before
that's
the
what I
100 year
thought.
ago war. Yeah, no, I forgot that because it shows a bunch of like the hero champions. That's what they're called. Shows a bunch of like the champions and like their
I was gonna say because that kind of takes away from Tears of the Kingdom if it's a sequel.
no, it's Tears of the Kingdom, which is the next one I was going to talk about. That takes place afterwards, and from what I can tell, it's about like rebuilding Hyrule because that's what the plan was at the end of Breath of the Wild.
But it seems like Ganon is gonna step in the way of that.
Not wait. Something we haven't talked about up until this point that we should bring up. There are different versions of Ganon. Um, so Vati isn't Ganon. Vati is like a different character, but there's Ganondorf, and then there's Ganon.
The pig. I know
Pig.
this.
Okay.
There's Pig Ganon. There's Ganondorf. There's Calamity
hmm
Ganon.
Calamity Ganon is like Pig Ganon like on steroids.
Mm.
Like he gave up all form of like humanity
Do
and
you
like
think
just
that in Tears of the Kingdom we could see Calamity Ganondorf?
yes, it's already been revealed that like
Oh,
in
is
the
that what
first
that
trailer.
was?
I believe it's pretty
We
much
don't know that for sure though, but
it's all but confirmed at this point that that's Ganondorf, to some degree. Because it was said in Breath of the Wild, I believe, that he was a Gerudo, and he just gave up all humanity and became like evil incarnate.
mm-hmm.
Um, I believe in the um, Heroes Defeated timeline, all of the versions of Ganon in that timeline are all Pig Ganon. Um, yes, the only yes. I don't know about Oracle and Ages and Oracle Seeds. I believe they actually have different villains, but Child Era it like varies, I believe. No, it looks like it's just Ganondorf. Adult Era it varies. Well, yeah, it's Ganondorf in the Adult Era. Um, It actually says the what heroes are in the Adult Era. So it's the Hero of Winds and a New World. So Spirit Tracks is probably the Hero of a New World.
Gotcha.
Um, oh no, I'm dumb. It's saying the Hero of Winds and a New World, not the Hero of a New World.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So here's
Okay. Anyway.
here's some thoughts I wanted to share
Okay.
quickly. I am hoping, and this is gonna upset a lot of people and might upset you also, Connor. I'm I think it would be great if Breath of the Wild and future games were all connected and were kind of a reboot to make a story that is a little more accessible. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
I think it would be nice to have like Breath of the Wild be the first game in a series of games that actually has like a story with characters that carry over every game because like I like the Zelda timeline. This is my review of the Zelda timeline because I
Okay.
haven't been through it before and like I've just started playing the games. It need to me it feels empty because you don't stick with one character for more than two games,
The
more
only
than three
exception
games.
is the Hero of Winds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's three games that I'm probably only gonna play one of.
Right.
So I feel like it would be really nice to have a Legend of Zelda story that's like has lore, like that could be even founded in the roots of. I mean, the first game set up that it was the lore of it was tied to the roots of every other Zelda game.
Right.
Like because the thing that happened 100 years ago, at least in my mind when I was playing it, like that could have been any of the Zelda games, but just if we lost at the end. Like and it had Ganon.
Right.
I
The
feel
the
like it
thing
would be nice to just have like a story that was just a story and not a huge thing.
the problem is that they made this like after Skyward Sword. They made this timeline after Skyward Sword like got released. Like this didn't exist before that.
Yeah.
So all of the games before Skyward Sword, they had to like fit into the timeline somewhere. The one thing I'm gonna say against that is there are a lot of points in the timeline where we don't have like a game. Like how you said, which one was it?
I'm not saying that they should just abandon the timeline. I think they
No, I know what you're saying. You're saying that like you want like a series of Zelda games that are just in like the world of Breath of the Wild.
I'm saying I wouldn't mind if Breath of the Wild never fit into this. I would be okay
Oh,
with that.
you're saying like having it separate altogether?
Yeah, I'd be happy with that. And it's just one timeline that makes sense. Like this makes sense, but it's like going down different paths and stuff. It's not like one story. I love having one story that arches over. This doesn't feel like one story, and it's just like I can see how it could be wrapped up and make it feel like it was all part of one story. But I feel
Well, if
like
they wrap it up with Tears of the Kingdom, that's great. The problem with like continuing it as if it's just like one big like story is for game purposes. Like you can't have the same Hyrule. Like it's already a stretch that they're going to have the same Hyrule in two games with Tears of the
yeah,
Kingdom because you can't have because the although it shares similarities, Twilight Princess's Hyrule is like completely different than Ocarina of Time's. Like they share
yeah,
like similar like layouts and stuff, but they're not the same games.
I see
So
that
it's
too. I mean, I don't care if they're in Hyrule. Like, if they went on to another, and I don't think this is gonna happen. This isn't like a proposal. This is just what would make my brain be like.
happy.
It would be like, hey, this is a story that has a start and a middle and an end. Like
I
that's
think
what I would
Tears of
love
the
to have.
Kingdom is going to make that happen for you. You're gonna have Age of Calamity, and then Breath of the Wild, and then Tears of the Kingdom, and that'll be your full story.
Yes, I think I would really like that because I like things having nice stories, and this feels like a very incomplete and stretched story. The Zelda timeline. I'd love to
Yeah,
see. I'd love to see Tears, and this is like a lot. I'd love to see Tears of the Kingdom be a satisfying conclusion to the Breath of the Wild universe and a conclusion to the timeline, if that is ever possible. I think you could conclude the Zelda timeline. I think you could have an ending point where you say,
if there was ever an ending point in the timeline, because this is the one part of it that I haven't gone over, it would have to be at the end of Breath of the Wild. Because I almost think
yeah.
that Wind Waker tries and fails because it's in like a separate timeline. The idea of Breath of the Wild, from what I can tell from a Lord standpoint, what everybody's ever been able to figure out is that at the end that there's a certain point in the timeline where all of the events of all three timelines happen because it's been so long. So we take any one of the three timelines and eventually you'll have each of the games on each of those timelines. It's just a different places. So at the end of at the end of it all, there's a point where all three games will just eventually merge into like one timeline, and that will be Breath of the Wild.
So it's possible that Breath of the Wild is happening in all three timelines.
It's not just possible; it's that's the most likely
It's more than
scenario
likely.
because there's evidence of events happening in all three timelines in Breath of the Wild.
So it would make sense for Breath of the Wild to be like everything merging back together the same way that it split out after
It
Ocarina of
wouldn't
Time.
be it wouldn't be directly at Breath of the Wild. It would be before Breath of the Wild, before
Right.
probably the 10,000 Year War, actually. Um, because that because again, Guardians don't exist in the current timeline.
Right. I think that could be a possibility, and I think it would be really cool. And this isn't gonna happen. Like I'm 99% sure this isn't gonna happen. I think a cool way to end it, and this would be super fan servicey and probably terrible to be honest, but like have they could do this actually, but have like, and I know that this is something that is probably explored in Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword because those seem like two of the most important games for like the timeline stuff.
Ocarina of Time and
Ocarina of Time,
Skyward Sword.
but Ocarina of Time isn't as relevant. It's more of a jumping off point. I feel like.
Mm, kind of. Yeah, I
Well, I feel
guess.
like. Do you feel like Ocarina of Time is really important to like all the reincarnation stuff, and
No,
like
but even Twilight Princess is just another one of
is
those
not as much?
incarnations. There's some really important story things that happen, but they don't really reflect to the rest of the timelines at all.
Okay, I feel like overall, the point I'm trying to make is to have like the hero, the Zelda, and the evil. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, yeah, I know what you're
Who've
talking
been
about.
getting reincarnated? Like have the true version of all three, and like that's the final ending.
Yes, I agree completely. I think that'd be a really cool idea for a Zelda game. The problem is that like then you're limiting yourself.
Because you
Then
can't.
You
Well, you could go
can't have
back
any more.
into the timeline. There's a lot of
Well, that's the thing.
unexplored
There's been
territory.
10,000 versions or like 10,000 years in between that one war and then Breath of the Wild.
They could establish it as the end of the timeline and keep adding stuff
Oh,
in the
wait,
middle of the
no.
timeline whenever they
Oh,
want.
no. Because I was thinking in between those 2 points you could have like games, but you can't because in Breath of the Wild they're like, we were able to seal Ganondorf away for 10,000 years because he's not able to come back, and then that's what causes the 100-year war in Breath of the Wild. So like you can't have any games in that
Mm.
space.
But you could have links exist and do stuff and be heroes still, even
I
if there's no
guess, but
Ganon.
they wouldn't be fighting Ganon,
Yeah. Which,
and you know how much Nintendo loves to incorporate Ganon.
yes. I think, um, I think having an end of the timeline where they break the reincarnation cycle would be really cool.
I think that'd be really cool too.
Because that would
Um,
feel really satisfying for this timeline. This timeline just feels like a story that's not finished, which is fine. But looking at it, I'm like, are they ever going to finish this? Or is this just something that people have made to try to make it make sense?
it's definitely going to be the latter. I hate to say it, but like it's just true. With story-based games, there has to be some sort of end, or else it's just going to go on forever. And I think this is one of those things that like just goes on forever.
Yeah, I believe in maybe, if they don't make an end in the next 10 years, I'll make an end. I'll join the
You'll
dead.
make one.
Yep.
You'll infiltrate Nintendo.
I'll infiltrate. Bunch of toddlers. We're all gonna attack.
An army. It's like that. It's like that question. Like if you were in a room with 10,000 toddlers, you had to fight them off by fist. Like, would you be able to do it?
Infiltrate Nintendo. Hold them at gunpoint to make The Legend of Zelda. Insert subtitle here. The
It's
final
the timelines.
reincarnation. Something like that.
Reincarnation station.
Reincarnation station.
What
Yeah.
was that? What was that one segment that we thought of that had
Recommendation station.
recommendation station? Oh man,
And then I
I don't know why
recorded
that.
the theme song, and just when I went to make the video, I found out I said recreation station,
Yeah, that was kind of
and I
funny.
had to go back and remake the whole thing.
Recreation station.
Let's make a recreation station where we just like play sports. Maybe that
Hopefully
could be a
over
special on your home. The
hopefully over the
recreation
next.
station
Yeah.
special.
But yeah, it's would you so you think I think that would be a really cool idea. I like the Zelda timeline. It's an unpopular opinion, but
I
I
don't
think that it works
dislike
really
it.
well for Zelda.
I think it's the best way you could fit every game into one story, if you really wanted
Yes,
to.
I agree.
And I feel like someday they could make an end to it. They could make an end to it and then reboot it. Breath of the Wild did great. And like my idea for a reboot series, like doesn't have to necessarily be Breath of the Wild, but if Tears of the Kingdom, okay, this is theoretical, right? If Tears of the King, and it probably is not going to be so. If Tears of the Kingdom is the game that somehow brings everything together and ends the timeline, they could make in 10 years some new Legend of Zelda reboot and just start a new story altogether.
Yeah, they definitely could. It's one of those things where it's like you just it's one of those things that you could end and then just like restart whenever you want to.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't understand why they haven't done that, or why they couldn't just say like it's a bunch of reincarnation happening. Like it's just like I don't know. I guess it makes Ocarina of Time more important in the grand scheme of things. But that's the other thing. It also like levels the importance of certain like games over others.
Oh
Because
yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, Wind Waker is not that important, or Twilight Princess isn't that important. Or but like Skyward Sword and Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild are like the most important games in this story.
Right. Which
And
is
like
like kind of selling the other one short because they're really good.
right. I don't think there isn't a single Zelda game that I would consider like actively bad. They're all well designed. It's the same thing with Mario. Like they're all well designed games that like play really good. The only exceptions I could see are like the original two,
Yeah.
because people really don't like those that much. Like personally, Link to the Past isn't for me, but I recognize that it's a really good game. It's just not like my game style. But
But that has been the Zelda timeline.
yes.
That has been my review. This has been my first time consuming whatever the Zelda timeline is. And I'm excited to play the
Yes.
games and experience their individual stories that don't have to do as much with this whole thing because
So,
this
which one
kind
are you playing right
I'm
now?
playing Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time, but I'm kind of going slow on Ocarina of Time. Mostly Wind Waker right now.
I think it's a good idea for after you finish Wind Waker, go to Skyward Sword, um, then Ocarina of Time, and then do the rest of like the child era. So like Majora's Mask and then Twilight Princess. I
Yeah.
think those are the best games.
Those are the
Um,
games that I want to play. My list is Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, Majora's Mask, and then Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker I'm playing right now. And I've
yeah,
already played Breath of the Wild.
it's kind of interesting. I'm curious how they take the series going forward because the not even with like lore, just like gameplay. Because now you have three different versions of Zelda games. You have the 2D Zelda games, the 3D Zelda games, and then like the open world Zelda games.
Yeah, because open world is kind of its own thing.
Right. And like I like the linear style like Zelda games.
I
I think
like.
there's a place for them.
I. Okay, this is something that I don't know if we should get into right now because this could probably be its own episode. I don't really
What?
like open world games.
Ooh, I'm writing this down. That's an interesting topic. Oh, I'm excited for that one.
I like open world games.
Now you're backtracking. You're like, wait, no, I didn't mean to make that big
I
bold
like.
claim.
I love Breath of the Wild. It's one of my favorite games. I think a lot of open world games miss the point of open world.
Jake hates open world
Yup, I
games.
hate them. Breath of the Wild is the only open world game I've played that I've been satisfied with. Although
Isn't Horizon?
Hollow Knight is kind of open world. It's like
No.
2D open world.
Hollow Knight's a Metroidvania. You've never played any other Metroidvanias. You don't know how to fucking like. You don't know how they work.
Hollow Knight feels like a 2D open world.
That's what Metroidvanias are. They're 2D open world games,
Okay.
but like they're not exactly open world too because they are. You have to, there's certain things that you do have to do in an order. They just feel open world because there's a lot of
Yes.
exploration and
It's
stuff.
exploration games, we'll say. Hollow Knight
Isn't
has
Horizon? Isn't Horizon an open world game?
it is. And I have some thoughts about it that I'd love to share when we talk
Oh
about
man,
open world games. Because open world I just need to talk about open world, but I think we should save it.
we definitely should save it.
I'll say I like Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild gets the open world right.
I agree.
And I'll say that Hollow Knight relates to why it gets open world right. We'll talk about that in the next podcast episode, though, or whatever episode we make that's about that.
It's got to be in 2 episodes because we have our part
Okay.
3 of the
Oh
technology.
God, I forgot about that.
we have that next week or whatever. Um, but yeah, as we're wrapping up, I do want to say one thing. If in the next like month, if episodes are a little bit inconsistent,
It's
um,
Connor's fault.
it's my fault. It's all my fault. Um, I'm coming home for winter break. That's like a month. But I won't have my normal setup. I'm not bringing my whole computer home. I'm just bringing my laptop. I'm gonna bring like my microphone and webcam and stuff, but things might be a little bit like wonky. So if you see my setup change as well, that's why. Um,
You might see some really great videos though in the next month too.
yes, yeah. But if things are a little bit like,
What if I ripped this apart? Look at it.
what if I rip this apart?
No, it's so cute. That's why I can't rip this apart. It's so cute. I'd be so sad if I ripped it apart.
But if in the next month you see like inconsistent uploads or something, like that's why. We'll just be working out how to do it while I'm home. Um, because obviously most of the time I'm in college, and we started this when I was in college. But yeah, also yeah, I also expect some pretty good, great videos as time goes on.
Hopefully, Nintendo Switch Sports video. I really want to play that.
Yeah, yes,
So that'll do it for the Legend of Zelda timeline. We hope you enjoyed.
yeah,
And we hope maybe you understand it a little better than I do.
yeah. Play Zelda. That's like my takeaway from all of this. Play
Play Zelda
all the Zelda games.
within reason.
This
Play at
this
least the
really
ones we listed that I'm gonna
this
play.
really makes me want to play like Zelda.
I'm going to go play Wind Waker after this. I think.
I have to pack. I have to pack to come
Oh,
home.
you have to pack. Have fun with
But
that.
thanks. All right. Well, that was our Zelda timeline video. I hope you
Yeah.
guys
Thank you
all
for
enjoyed.
watching, listening.
Thank you so
Whatever
much
you
for
do.
watching and listening. Also, if you went and watched my newest video on my channel, thank you.
Yeah, I'm a
Because
little
that
bit
video is doing
jealous.
really well.
Not jealous of Connor's video, but I'm mad that you guys don't care about our videos. You don't care about the
Our
podcast. You care
videos
about
got like
Connor's
2
video.
views and I got like 600 on
Yeah, it's because they
mine.
all left. It's me. I'm the problem.
You need to make your own channel. Start streaming on Twitch again.
I actually did make my own channel that I'm started uploading on, but I'm not sharing it with any of you.
Well, anyway, thank you so much for listening and watching, and we will see you all in the next episode. Good game.
Good game, everybody.